Welcome to Applications for New Awards, Disability Innovation Fund, Pathways to Partnerships, Innovative Model Demonstration Project. Please note, eligible applicants are state vocational rehabilitation agencies, often referred to as SVRAs, and state educational agencies, often referred to as SEAs. With required partners, SVRAs, SEAAs, federally funded centers for independent living, often referred to as CILs, and local education agencies, often referred to as LEAs. Let's get things started with our first speaker.
Hello to everyone clicking on this video to learn more about the most recent funding opportunity released by the Rehabilitation Services Administration. Thank you. I am Karina Stiles, Director of the Training Service Programs Division in the Rehabilitation Services Administration at the Department of Education. Thank you for your interest in learning more about the Pathways to Partnerships Innovative Model Demonstration Project. In the next few minutes, I will provide you a few details about the Pathways to Partnership funding opportunity, and you will also hear from key federal change agents about the importance of this historical and important funding opportunity. Nearly every federal program has an origin story that begins with an identified need or a problem that needs solving across the country. Secondly, every federal program needs people who are willing to step up and help fill that need or help solve the identified problem. My team and I are honored to have been part of the Pathways to Partnerships origin story. And today's presentation invites you to be part of this project's origin and future success story. On April 5th, 2023, the Department of Education announced a new discretionary grant competition under Assistance Listing Number 84.421E, titled Pathways to Partnerships Innovative Model Demonstration Project. This funding opportunity is estimated at $224,023,590. Pathways to Partnerships funding is intended to support state vocational rehabilitation agencies, state education agencies, and federally funded centers for independent living in creating and maintaining long-term working partnerships and systemic approaches to improve access to pre-employment transition services for children and youth with disabilities. The department estimates awarding 22 to 32 projects at an average size of $7 million per project for a 5-year project period. This funding opportunity will close June 5th. These funds will be fully front-loaded. This means successful applicants will receive all project period funds at the beginning of year 1. A notice inviting applications is currently available in the Federal Register, and application packages can be found at grants.gov. I mentioned the application period will close June 5th. Another important date is Tuesday, April 25th. On Tuesday, April 25th, you are invited to join a pre-applicant teleconference from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. During the pre-applicant teleconference, you will hear helpful details about the application process from Department of Education staff. You will also have an opportunity to ask questions about the application process. Please refer to the Federal Register or visit ncrtm.ed.gov for information on where and how to register for the pre-application teleconference. If you are unable to attend the pre-application teleconference and have questions about the application process, send those questions to 84.421e@ed.gov. Please share this information far and wide. And above all else, if you are a state vocational rehabilitation agency, a state education agency, or a federally funded Center for Independent Living, I hope you strongly consider working with your network partners to apply for this historical funding opportunity. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce three federal leaders who represent the partners who will lead this historic work. Representing the State Vocational Rehabilitation Agencies, I welcome Carol Doback, Deputy Commissioner from the Rehabilitation Services Administration in the Department of Education. Deputy Commissioner Doback is also delegated the authority to perform the functions and duties of the Commissioner for the Rehabilitation Services Administration. Representing local education agencies, following Deputy Commissioner Doback, you will hear from Valerie Williams, Director of the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services in the Department of Education. And to close the show, representing Centers of Independent Living, you will hear from Jill Jacobs, Commissioner at the Administration for Community Living in the Department of Health and Human Services. As a reminder, on Tuesday, April 25th, you are invited to join a pre-applicant teleconference. The application window will close Monday, June 5th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And lastly, send any questions that you might have to 84.421e@ed.gov. Good luck to everyone with your Pathways to Partnerships applications. The department looks forward to working with you. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce Carol Doback, Deputy Commissioner from the Rehabilitation Services Administration in the Department of Education. Deputy Commissioner Doback is also delegated the authority to perform the functions and duties of the Commissioner for the Rehabilitation Services Administration.
Thank you, Karina. I am excited to launch the Pathways to Partnership Model Demonstration Project. The purpose of this project is to support collaborative partnerships for the seamless delivery of meaningful transition services for our children and youth with disabilities. The project requires the substantial and purposeful collaboration among key agencies involved in the transition of our children and youth, including state vocational rehabilitation agencies, state educational agencies, local educational agencies, and federally funded centers for independent living. Together, they will commit to reinforcing and advancing the promise of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Each of these partners has an important and critical role to play in supporting the successful secondary or post-secondary experiences of our children and youth with disabilities, their families, and others in the support systems. VR agencies, for example, provide a wide variety of transition and pre-employment transition services for students and youth with disabilities that are designed to assist them in exploring careers, preparing for and engaging in competitive integrated employment, and ultimately achieving economic self-sufficiency. Coming together through this project, applicants will have the ability to develop their cohesive service delivery models. And I encourage all applicants to not only include the required partnerships in their project designs, but also other agencies and entities that are essential to the transition of our children and youth. These include state, local, and regional employers, their chambers of commerce, institutions of higher education, and other nonprofit and private entities. We know that strong partnerships result in improved transition of our children and youth with disabilities from education to employment. And I invite all of you to engage in this unprecedented opportunity. So that you can learn more about it, I now turn to my colleague, Valerie Williams, Director of the Office of Special Education Programs here at the Department of Education.
Thank you, Carol. The Office of Special Education Programs is pleased to join you and our partners from the Administration on Community Living in this historic effort. Children and youth with disabilities have a right to a free and appropriate public education, as well as access to transition services that lead to competitive integrated employment. This is one critical component that youth and adults with disabilities need to achieve the nation's goals. As Carol shared with you, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or commonly referred to as IDEA, makes available a free, appropriate public education to eligible children and youth with disabilities and ensures that special education and related services are available to those children and youth. Under IDEA, local education agencies must provide transition services to students at age 16 or age 14 in some states. State education agencies have the responsibility for general supervision of local education agencies to ensure appropriate monitoring and oversight, technical assistance, and enforcement. Local education agencies, in turn, are responsible for the general supervision of schools within their jurisdictions. Over the past 3 decades, research on the transition of students with significant disabilities has shown that post-school outcomes of students with disabilities increase when educators, families, students, community members, and organizations work together in transition planning. As children and youth with disabilities move through the school system, many do not have exposure to self-advocacy training, careers, and independent living opportunities until they transition from high school. It is important to support children and youth with disabilities and their support systems to bridge the gap from school to adult life, independent living, and career. The research is clear that collaboration from all stakeholders in the transition process improves outcomes, but currently there is a deficit in policies and practices in place to serve as models. To address the deficit in our policies and practices, the collaboration of all stakeholders will attempt to solve common challenges associated with cross-agency communication, alignment of vision and goals, resource coordination, and trust. And now it's time to introduce our next partner, Jill Jacobs, Commissioner from the Administration for Community Living Administration on Disabilities.
Thank you, Valerie. The Administration for Community Living and the Administration on Disabilities applaud the U.S. Department of Education for seeking innovative models of collaboration as well as partnerships that coordinate funding through this discretionary grant competition. This is the first time Centers for Independent Living are a required partner in a model demonstration project administered by the Department of Education. And we are at the ready to support this opportunity. We appreciate that the Department of Education recognizes that Centers for Independent Living across the United States play a key role in ensuring children and youth with disabilities get the education and training they need to prepare for competitive integrated employment. Centers for Independent Living provide core services to individuals with disabilities to maximize the leadership, empowerment, independence, and productivity of individuals with disabilities and the integration and full inclusion of individuals with disabilities into the mainstream of American society. Partnerships with state vocational rehabilitation agencies, state education agencies, local education agencies, and centers for independent living will reduce organizational silos and create opportunities for a unified vision, common goals, cross-partner education and training, communication, and the identification and utilization of new and innovative approaches to collaboration. Best of luck to you all, and off we go.
Thank you for your interest in learning more about the Pathways to Partnerships Innovative Model Demonstration Project. Good luck to everyone with your Pathways to Partnerships applications. The department looks forward to working with you.
The National Clearinghouse of Rehabilitation Training Materials, NCRTM, is maintained by New Additions Consulting Incorporated and sponsored by the U.S. Department of Education, Rehabilitation Services Administration, RSA, under contract number 91990021C0033. However, These contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.